Hello. Um, Here I am sitting in the car on my lunch break. I'm going to do another video. By the time I get home, it's about 11 p.m. and generally, I've got to get up and do it all over again the next day. So generally, lately, haven't had the time or energy. So I thought I'd do some quick videos out on my lunch break, just storytelling with my cell phone. Don't mind the lighting; it's what it is in the parking lot. Well, this one has to do with a very fortunate, lucky day I had as a private in the Army. Everything went right. My lucky stars were shining down on me. It has to do with my prayer and the way I handled things, faith, and my first parachute jump at Fort Bragg, which would have been my sixth parachute jump. My first parachute jump is that story where I landed in a swamp. That's a story in itself. But everything went right, and I gotta tell you, I'll start it out with, I found out real quick that I did not really care for parachuting out of airplanes. We did this in the Army, not like sport jumping. We had a lot of gear and weapons on us, and a lot of people going out that door real fast. And I have a healthy fear of heights. I always have. So, but I never let it really stop me from doing what I have to do. But I was pretty, people didn't know it. I didn't let on. People didn't know that I really didn't like jumping out of airplanes. That's not something you let people know. Or they'll never give you, in the Army, you're amongst guys that are like 21 years old and such. It's like college. It's like a college fraternity in uniforms with guns, but paycheck and a mission. But if I would have told them that I was afraid of jumping, I never would have heard the end of it. So nobody knew, just God and myself. But I had a way of handling my parachute jumps that enabled me to do something that I really didn't want to do. Very much so. You get in that airplane and they open those doors up, and man, you could see outside. You see the ground way down there through the door, and it's just instinctively, you do not want to jump out that door. Well, I prayed to God, and before the jumps, of course, and I put my life and my safety in His hands, and at that point, I let it be, and I already knew, I believed in God, I believed in the power of prayer. I also knew that I was going to go out that door. No matter what, I was going to do it. I wasn't going to back down. And I never did. So it was a done deal. It's as good as done. That's the way I saw it. What will be, will be. Que sera, sera. I'm going out that aircraft with everybody else, for better or worse. And I put my faith in God. So if I was meant to get injured or killed that day, then it was God's will. And if not, it was God's will. So my first parachute jump, this one day I'm talking about, our battalion, the 2nd 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 82nd Airborne, based at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was in Charlie Company, 2nd 504th, a very good company, my alma mater. I always think of them as that in my 20 years. So I went out the aircraft. It was daytime, and we were supposed to jump, land on the whatever drop zone, probably Sicily drop zone, and then we were going to march, form up and march, tactically march, do a movement to a rifle range, and qualify with our weapons at a rifle range. So I went out the door with hundreds of other guys, probably about 7 aircraft, loaded up with about 100 guys in each one thereabouts. And I did something wrong. I was all tangled up. My parachute did not open. It's what they called a streamer or a cigarette roll. And those are generally fatal. It's where the lines were tangled up, and instead of the parachute opening up like you want it to, it was just like twisted up and it wasn't opened. So it was what they call a cigarette roll, they used to call it, or a streamer. And it's spinning and you're just coming in real fast. And the lines were wrapped up around my head and I held my head down like that. And I was spinning real fast, going down real fast. And I thought I was going to die, honestly. And I wasn't afraid. I thought, I actually felt very calm. I said, I guess I'm going to die today. And I thought, darn, I'm so young, I was 22, 21, 22. And I thought, I'm going to die today. That's all there's to it. And I looked down, and I'm spinning around in circles with my unopened parachute above me. All the other people around, the parachutes, I'm going down faster than I passed them. So I thought maybe I better try. I felt obligated to try to save myself. And so I shook and bicycled with my legs, like we're trained. It wouldn't untangle. It did not open. So I said, well, I tried. That's it. And then I looked down at my boots and I saw the trees and bushes beneath me getting bigger, quick. And I thought, maybe I'm not going to die. Maybe I'm just going to be badly mangled. And then I really kicked and shook that parachute. And it opened maybe 200 feet off the ground. And I hit so hard, it knocked me out. I landed in the sand. And it knocked me out cold. And I had a rucksack that was strapped to my legs. It broke the metal frame on that in half. And I came to lying on my back in the sand on the drop zone. And I opened my eyes. I said, I think I'm still on Earth. I'm alive. I was kind of surprised. I thought I was going to get killed. And very slowly I moved my feet. Nothing seemed to be broken. I wasn't in any pain. So I got up and brushed myself off. I landed so hard I had to take a knife. The clips were bent shut, the aluminum ones on my parachute harness. I had to cut the harness off with a knife. I hit so hard, I broke the rucksack frame metal in half. I bent one of the clips on my parachute harness where I had to cut it off. But I got up away, brushed it off, and walked off, and I joined up with my unit, and come to find out, there was a whole bunch of people looking for me. They didn't know who it was. They asked me when I marched off and I got with my company. I met up with them in the woods, and they said, we're looking for a guy that we saw streamering in, a streamer, over that way. They said, did you see them? I said, no, I didn't see them. It was me. I didn't tell them that. I probably would have gotten in trouble. That's another thing. When you're a new guy, you don't want people to think you don't know what you're doing. So that was me. And praise God, I got up and walked away from that without a scratch. And there were people looking for whoever it was because it wasn't a good thing. So we started moving off in the summertime in North Carolina. Pretty hot day. Very hot day. In fact, probably like August. And our battalion commander wanted to see the battalion's newest soldier, which would have been me, Private Shank. Shank up front with a map and a compass. And let's see what he could do, what they teach him in basic training about how to use a map and compass. I was going to lead the whole battalion across country and get us to the rifle range. And I hate to disappoint you. I did not know what I was doing at all with a map and compass. I was not a good student in basic training. I think I goofed off as much as I could get away with. I did become a very good orientation, with a map and compass. I'm really good at it. In fact, I competed and won quite a few competitions out in the woods with a map and compass, and land navigation, orienteering. But at this particular time, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I would learn down the road, but so I'm taking the battalion. I have no idea where I'm taking. Like maybe 500-600 guys behind me. Taking them, they're all spread out, maybe a mile back, tactical. Everybody's spread out like We're playing war games. And I took us through a swamp. I mean, I went straight, just right through a swamp, chest deep. And a few of them weren't too happy about that. And I played it off like I was hardcore. And a few people in my platoon didn't have any confidence in me. They thought I'd gotten the whole battalion lost. I told them I had not, even though I was certain I had. And I didn't want to admit to having gotten like 500-600 people lost when it was a really hot day out. And I think people were anxious to get to where we were going. But I kept moving. I got through the swamp, and they all followed me through the swamp up onto dry land. And lo and behold, I came out right exactly on the range. Right exactly on the range, the rifle range. And I got a lot of praise for that, right? God was looking out for me. I told you, I prayed, and I left it in God's hands. And He was looking out for me that day. So I came through the parachute accident unscathed. Could have well been killed, mangled at least. I somehow took the whole battalion and got us precisely where they wanted to go, to the rifle range. Now we're qualifying with our rifles. That means this is where, we're America's Guard of Honor. We had to have a high state of readiness where you have to show that you and your rifle are able to hit a target. And, so you go to the range and qualify. Now, the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Metcalf, as I recall, to kind of make it competitive, he told the battalion, whoever fires a high score out of the battalion, and again, that, 500 or 600 soldiers, will get 2 weeks of no duty, which is basically 2 weeks off, and some awards and some other things. And so we went to fire our weapons, and I had an M16 rifle, and it was so hot. I couldn't even see the target, for sweat was getting into my eyes. I mean, it's a timed event. You start firing, and you've got, X amount of time to fire off at all the targets, and then they blow the whistle, and, that's it, no more firing. So it's timed, and there's a lot of pressure. I prayed to God. I'm laying there on my belly with that rifle, the target's downrange. And I said, God, I really need this time off because my wife and my children had just joined me at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and just joined me that week. And I really needed the time with my family. And I said, God, I need this time with my wife and kids. And, I looked down the range. I had so much sweat in my eyes, I couldn't see the target. It was just a blur. They blew the whistle or whatever to start firing, and I fired off my rounds at basically a blur. I couldn't see it because of sweat. I had very good eyesight, but this day it was all sweat in my eyes, and it was stinging. And I was pretty sure I'd missed the target. I'd be surprised if I qualified. Well, next thing I know, our battalion command sergeant major, an old Vietnam vet, old soldier at this point, he was down there gathered around my target, and I thought, wow, I must have messed up pretty bad. He said in his 25 years in the Army, he had never seen shooting as good as what I did. I don't know how I did it. I looked at this shot group. You could put all of my shots in an area on the bullseye about as big as a nickel. Right on the bullseye, about as big as a nickel. You better believe I won that contest. And I got 2 weeks of no duty. At this point in time, we were just doing a lot of guard duty and post cleanup. We weren't actively training at this point, because they went through phases where we were out training most of the year. Then we weren't. We were doing post duty, which means basically I just showed up for the formation in the morning and I was dismissed for the day. So I had 2 weeks off to spend with my wife and kids. and I got an award for it, like an Army Achievement Medal, and 2 cases of beer, because back then the Army kind of seemed to promote beer drinking. But that all happened in one day. A parachute mishap that I got through miraculously, lost with the battalion on a march, not knowing where I was going or what I was doing, and on a prayer, got them right to exactly where we were headed. And then the rifle range, where I couldn't even see the target. We had to fire a gas mask, and I did this consecutively, and I don't know how I did it because I couldn't see it. And it was pretty good shooting, and I've done a lot of shooting in the military, and that really was phenomenal. So, we got a new year. Today's the last day of 2021. And I think this does have a New Year's message. And you put your faith in God, pray, and what will be, will be. Leave it up to God. What will be, so long as you leave it in God's hands, it is His will. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. And if it's left in God's hands in prayer, then you can put your mind at ease. And that's it. That's my lunch break story. So in the parking lot at night. Take care. God bless. And maybe I'll do a New Year's Old Lang Syne play or something tonight. I don't know. Take care.